Joining us live right now, our good friend Dr. Joe Congeni, Sports Medicine Center at Akron Children's Hospital. Dr. Joe, what's on your mind today?
Hey, Ray, could we touch on today? I think it might be helpful for some of our coaches and athletes and parents to recognize in a case like Bradley Zimmer of the Cleveland Indians, he's in the concussion protocol, right?
Yes, he is.
And it was a little bit kind of confusing the first day or two if he had a concussion or not, and then remember after 24 or 48 hours they put him in the protocol. At first they said, well, he was just dealing with blurred vision after falling and taking kind of a snapback hit to his head, right? And so one of the biggest issues that occurs frequently with this particular problem is many people don't recognize it as a type of presentation of concussion. So we talk a lot about over 50%, 60% of concussions don't get recognized initially. And one of the most common ones is young athletes who present with double vision, blurred vision, sensitivity to light. For whatever reason, a lot of people don't think of that as the possible presentation of concussion. They're looking for somebody to have a headache, memory loss, confusion, and surely that is a type of concussion with memory loss and confusion, but so is people that have visual changes. It's not an uncommon type of concussion. Over 20% of concussions present with visual symptoms, and so I don't want people to forget about that, and often perhaps the other signs and symptoms of concussion may come later, but many of these people, because they aren't seen early on, it's blamed just as being a visual problem. Well, remember, vision is a part of the function of the brain, and when the brain gets injured with a concussion, it doesn't work normally, and one of the symptoms can be visual symptoms. You know, Ray, I was remembering as I went through this, one of the greats of athletic training in the state of Ohio was a guy by the name of Billy Hill, and I first came in contact with Billy Hill in 1988 at Ohio State. Billy was the longtime trainer for Ohio State's football team and Woody Hayes' teams, and Billy would tell me, how do you diagnose concussion, Billy? This is way back in the day, and Billy said, I know all 80 of my players, all 100 of my players. I can look them in the eyes and tell if they have a concussion or not. And a lot of people would really shake their head at that, but there is some truth to that. Kids that are concussed, there is a certain presentation that they have that is related to vision, and you can sometimes see it in their eyes.
Dr. Joe Congeni with us from Sports Medicine Center at Akron Children's Hospital. And when we're talking about the high school athletes with concussion, Joe, that means heavy education for a lot of these coaches. You know, we talk football, but also when we talk about competitive cheerleading, soccer, and on down the line, people have to be prepared, coaches and such.
Oh, if you could see our schedule right now in September at our clinic, it's an array of multiple different sports. So again, to pigeonhole it into a football thing is just really unfair. But in the last week, I got a couple of calls from people. Could it be with visual symptoms in our office of kids playing other sports, like one of them I believe was a soccer player, and visual symptoms related to that? You know, there is one more tool that we're studying on the sideline. It's called Think. And this tool is like a viewfinder where the athlete on the sideline looks into the viewfinder, and there's a camera at the other end that actually has the eyes go through a range of motion to follow an object in the middle of the viewfinder. And what happens in kids that are concussed, that mechanism is injured also as a part of the brain injury, and kids cannot follow through, and the camera measures this. It's studied last year at 6 different colleges, and we're looking at studying it in kids. It may be something that helps us pick up those kids that play the different sports you're talking about, like high-risk sports, like other sports, lacrosse, soccer, cheerleading, not just a football thing, as you mentioned.
Joe, for parents, kids get bopped on the head and such and maybe come down and get a little bit dinged. Are there some warning signs?
Yeah, I mean, the warning signs, though, this is what makes it so tough, are variable, are different in many different cases. So, you could see 5 or 10 concussions in a week, and they may present 5 different ways. And so we're so used to an ankle sprain, for instance. You roll your ankle, swollen ankle, and it looks the same all the time. In kids, there's so many different presentations. Everybody thinks of the kid who has the headache, the confusion, out of it, memory loss. But there are different problems like balance issues, visual symptoms, hearing problems. Many of the different jobs and that the brain does can be affected by brain injury or concussion. So it's just not as simple as telling people look for one set of circumstances. And that's exactly why I wanted to talk about the visual symptoms today.
Great stuff, Joe. Thank you for joining us as always, my friend, and we'll catch up with you again next week.
Thanks, Ray. Great talking to you. Have a great week.
You too. Dr. Joe Congeni, Sports Medicine Center at Akron Children's Hospital.